Holy shit, guys. I know Mark's been crazy, but you have to remember the United States is really about to buy 1 million Bitcoin. What started as whispers back in 2024 has escalated pretty fast. Trump, Congress, even BlackRock are actually making moves that could legitimately make US the Bitcoin powerhouse of the world. And the price in the short term doesn't reflect that insane fundamental reality that's coming. In this video, I'm going to break down America's Bitcoin plans, whether or not they're actually possible. But first, let's just rewind a little bit. The idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve initially came from Senator Cynthia Lummis, one of Bitcoin's biggest supporters in government. She announced her Bitcoin Act bill at last year's Bitcoin conference, a bill that would essentially allow the USA to buy 200,000 BTC every single year for the next 5 years, making a total of 1 million coins be held at least for 20 years. Now, that alone would put America well on track to becoming one of the biggest sovereign holders of Bitcoin. Well, really the biggest, behind Satoshi, I guess. Now that President Trump has signed an executive order for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, the United States can, well, now do exactly this and start stockpiling Bitcoin, kind of like they stockpile gold. But the executive order explicitly says the United States will use budget-neutral strategies in order to acquire Bitcoin, meaning the government's not just going to take money from your pocket and YOLO it into Bitcoin. They need to find other ways to do it, which is interesting. Now, those ideas are being thought up right now. The equations are being done. The calculations are being done. But here's the problem. An executive order can be overturned by the next president. That's why Lummis's Bitcoin Act is so damn important. Trump can sign an executive order that says, blah, 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 strategic Bitcoin reserve, but then next guy comes in and says, screw that, market dump it all right now, screw Bitcoin. So the bill isn't just about stacking sats. It's about protecting Bitcoin as a long-term reserve asset in the United States. If passed by the Senate, her bill would lock in Bitcoin as a long-term strategic asset codified in law to prevent any future president from selling the stack. And it's not just the federal government that's making moves here, as individual states are getting in on the action too. Multiple strategic Bitcoin reserve bills are making their way through a variety of different state legislative processes, aiming to allow individual states to hold Bitcoin as part of their reserves. Now, quite a few of these have already been rejected, but quite a few of them are also moving forward, and it looks like we're going to have quite a few in the end, states that end up buying Bitcoin. And they're also doing stuff like letting citizens pay taxes in Bitcoin, which go into reserves as well, so that's pretty cool. Now, this all means that the Bitcoin adoption train isn't just coming from the top down, it's building momentum from the ground up too. And let's be real, this isn't just about some politicians randomly getting orange pilled. The United States is finally waking up to the reality that spiraling debt is out of control, and if they don't start securing Bitcoin now, other countries are going to do it. Just look at BlackRock's warning. The master of the universe, Larry Fink, the most powerful man in the world, dropped a Bitcoin bombshell the other day. But before we talk about that bombshell, if you want to achieve better trading goals, you want to have an exchange that's going to support you to do that, where you can long the markets when they're pumping, short the markets when they're dumping, because there's always money to be made trading the markets. BitUnix is a great place to do that. Look, I know some of you guys live in places where it's not so easy to access great exchanges. Well, guess what? BitUnix is a no KYC, no VPN, no BS exchange. All you have to do is click on the link down below and you can start trading. It's as simple as that. Right now, they're running a special promotion as well. You get $10 for free just on sign up. You get 20% deposit bonus. You put $1,000 in, get $200 back. And of course, you can get $2,000 in trading bonuses if you start actually doing some good trading over there on BitUnix. They got all the top pairs over there. Whatever you want to trade, they got you covered. Link down below. Go check it out if, of course, you are a cryptocurrency trader. So, in Larry Fink's letter to shareholders, he straight up said that if the U.S. doesn't get its debt under control, if deficits keep ballooning, America risks losing its position to digital assets like Bitcoin. Who got to Larry, man? Just think about it. The head of the world's biggest asset manager, literally one of the most powerful men in the world, he's warning the government that Bitcoin will become a serious competitor to the US dollar. That's crazy. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF already has surpassed almost $50 billion in assets under management. So obviously, they are spreading that good gospel to their customers. So the USA can either embrace Bitcoin early, one of the first countries to take it seriously, okay, thus securing its future as the #1 economy in the world, or ignore Bitcoin and watch other countries take over the game. China and others will hop on board if the USA doesn't, and they'll probably hop on board if the USA does because they have to, because they need to play catch up. It's a win-win, really, either way. This is America's game to lose, though, and Trump doesn't like to lose. So if you thought this couldn't get any crazier, buckle up, because the Trump family is also going all in on Bitcoin. The DJT company launching Bitcoin ETFs. The Trump family recently announcing they're getting in on Bitcoin mining. So Donald Trump Jr. has said from the start, we've backed our conviction in Bitcoin personally and through our businesses, but simply buying Bitcoin is only half the story. Mining it on favorable economics opens up an even bigger opportunity. President's family's mining Bitcoin, guys. They're out here working for the bags, quite literally. That's why Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump just announced a deal with Bitcoin miner Hut 8 to launch a new Bitcoin mining company together. Now, the plan here is to make American Bitcoin the world's largest, most efficient, pure play Bitcoin miner with the goal of becoming a publicly listed company. Now, the aim of all this is to scale up the operation to over 50 exahashes per second in order to rival the major players in the industry. Now, this new mining company will essentially exist as a subsidiary of Hut 8, with the Trump family owning around a 20% stake. Eric Trump is listed as the co-founder of the American Bitcoin Corporation and will serve as its chief strategy officer. Now, all this simply means that the Trump family will be actively investing in securing the Bitcoin network, mining new coins, and building out yet another strategic Bitcoin reserve, but just for their family this time, I guess. And that's not, of course, their only crypto play. They also have World Liberty Financial, which is about tens of millions of dollars of Bitcoin. Pretty crazy stuff. But here's where things really get interesting, because the USA may not stop there. Trump could be considering bit bonds. Yes, bit bonds to fund its Bitcoin reserves. According to a policy framework published by the Bitcoin Policy Institute, the Treasury could actually allocate $200 billion to Bitcoin purchases through a proposed $2 trillion issuance of Bitcoin bonds. Now, we've already seen this play out in El Salvador. It's not a completely new idea. Smaller countries have already shown the way. In El Salvador, Bukele launched the world's first Bitcoin-backed bonds to raise funds for infrastructure and Bitcoin purchases. Now, imagine the United States doing something similar, but on a much, much bigger scale. That would be crazy. The Bitcoin bonds, of course, will be designed to refinance a portion of the $14 trillion of federal debt that matures over the next 3 years. So $2 trillion sounds like a gargantuan sum of money. You have to remember, $14 trillion maturing anyway. Just take out a few percentage points of that. Each of these bonds would allocate 90% of proceeds to government financing and 10% towards Bitcoin acquisition, allowing the USA to stack Bitcoin without needing direct taxpayer funding to do it or triggering immediate price explosions. Now let's talk a little bit about logistics here. Can the USA really acquire 1 million Bitcoin under Donald Trump's leadership? I mean, well, look, yes, obviously, just smash a bunch of money into it, right? But 1 million Bitcoins, roughly 5% of Bitcoin's total supply. So if the USA starts aggressively buying, it could then trigger a supply shock, sending prices skyrocketing dramatically in the short term, kind of screwing over the US Bitcoin purchasing, making them have to purchase at a higher price, and then bringing a lot of criticism later on because, oh, you spent $10 billion on it, it's only worth $5 now. Bitcoin reserves on crypto exchanges have already dropped to the lowest level since 2022, with less than 2.5 million Bitcoin remaining. This is largely due to the spot ETFs, which are buying Bitcoin at current rates of 20 times faster than miners can create it. The USA already owns around 200,000 Bitcoin, although some of that might be going back to Bitfinex. So we'll see. They're doing a final audit over the next couple of days here. So next week we should have a final number on how much Bitcoin the USA really has. So this would kick things off with a pretty substantial head start, regardless of how much Bitcoin. If it's only 100,000, say la vie, that's still a lot of Bitcoin. The government would have to be extremely careful about how they acquire new coins, likely needing to use over-the-counter markets, buying directly from Bitcoin miners so as not to affect markets too much. Bitcoin-backed bonds or direct agreements with institutions would probably do the deal too. And look, right now, the USA is the Bitcoin mining global leader, more hash rate in America than any other country. So there's a lot of Bitcoin miners that could sell directly to the US government. Would still cause a supply shock though, because all the new coins is getting sucked up by the US government, Where's BlackRock going to get their coins? One thing is clear in all this, though. If this happens, Bitcoin's scarcity will become even more obvious and the price could go absolutely parabolic regardless of how they buy it, especially if broader game theory starts kicking in. Because you think China's just going to sit there and watch the USA buy 1 million Bitcoin and go, that's fine. We're just going to let this other country acquire the new global reserve asset. We're not going to have any. Imagine if 2 or 3 nations start stockpiling Bitcoin at the exact same time. Brazil's already talking about it. Then the problem is not only about quantity. By the way, there's also closed meeting doors in Beijing apparently about this exact topic. So China could be looking at it too. And the problem's not just about quantity, but also it comes out the price too. See, the higher the Bitcoin price goes, the smarter the US has to get with its budget neutral buying strategies. Or it could be the case that if the US Congress passes the Bitcoin Act, then that could actually mark the cycle top. And then this means, of course, hopefully, cheaper Bitcoin for the US government to buy, obviously, and for us to buy too during the eventual next bear market. I know we're in a pretty bearish phase of the market right now. Then they can really go to town, of course, on stockpiling Bitcoin. Everybody thinks it's absolutely dead. Maybe they'll even sell off some of their gold reserves or their strategic cheese reserves. Miles and miles of cheese under the state of Michigan, believe it or not. Crazy shit, right? Billions of dollars worth of cheese. Anyway, that's it, guys. I'll see you back in the next video. Thanks for watching.